think about the business at hand. So anyway, these are just things to help us. Nobody's perfect. We forget sometimes what all the rules are, but we're making an effort in that direction. Okay, so I guess that was all my welcome back news. So I think I spoke. Oh, and I almost forgot the big happy thing. So Mr. Ryder, will you read to us, and you have to tell us what grade it is? Do you remember? That's the high school.
Wow. It is a high school.
We were just.
Can you read
Yes,
that name?
it's in a, it is.
Yeah, see,
Haley.
I've got the
Haley,
glasses.
but we're not going to read the last name.
Okay, it's Haley.
Haley.
Okay.
And
That's
then
the
it
high
says,
school.
it's high school. I can show my learning by, can you see that? It's a good team bonding thing here. Participating with the whole class, participating with the whole class.
Yeah, participating with the whole
It-
class.
And we need to get light colored pens.
This is difficult. I have glasses
But it
on
was-
and I'm trying my best.
But yeah, so Haley said they can,
See,
they
sometimes
can
it's
tell
hard
they're
to be
learning
a
by
student.
participating with the whole class.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Next will be grade
Yes.
for the middle school, grades 5 through 8.
5 through 8. And we're looking for gray. This is even better. This looks gray to me. Close enough. This is a little better. This is Ryland from Lawrence School. Improve. I use technology to improve how we learn and how well we learn it. So that was nice.
And who was that from again?
Ryland.
Ryland in the Lawrence School?
Yep.
Okay.
And a white one. Easy on top. And this would be Amaya from Mullen Hall. My school is a great place to learn because it has great teachers. And that's what it's all about there, isn't it?
Okay.
And I just have to share a disclosure here that the system worked fine. Bill and I didn't notice that it was synopsized in the corner. Clear as day, so I didn't want to, that was on us.
That was on us. Put the guys down at the end and this is what happens.
Just like Robert's rules, we have to get the kinks out of all these little things that we do, right? Okay. But we hope, we definitely want to hear from the students and the teachers, and so hopefully this will help. Okay, so now we come to the other items on our meeting, and that is public comment. So I would like to say, if you want to make a public comment, please limit your comments to 2 minutes and to items that are not on the meeting agenda. Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment? Yes, please come up to the,
I'm Brenda Nolan from North Falmouth. I'm the chair of the...
would you mind
EDC.
coming up to the
Sure.
microphone?
I'm Brenda Nolan from North Falmouth. I'm the chair of the UCC Restorative Justice Task Team, and also attend the West Falmouth Friends meeting. And you may have something in your packet. I dropped something off yesterday. I'd like to invite you to the Restorative Justice panel that will be held at the library in the Herman Foundation Room from 2 to 4 on Saturday, the 22nd of September. And we have a really excellent panel of people who have done restorative practices in the state of Massachusetts, in schools, in reentry programs. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Could you
much.
repeat the date and time, because
It's-
sometimes people don't
It's a
catch
week
that.
from Saturday, that's 22nd of September, from 2 to 4. Thank you.
Okay, so, moving along, we now will hear from Maureen Lacroix, the new superintendent's induction program.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me a couple minutes on your agenda tonight. Nice to see school committee members who own it and didn't hang the kid out there to dry. It looks like a nice new beginning, a nice practice to have. I'm really happy to be here on behalf of the new superintendent's induction program, and really honored to get a chance to work with your new superintendent. You've obviously done very well in the hiring practice and in the hiring process rather, and should be very delighted with Dr. Dewar here. The new superintendent's induction program, just to tell you a little bit about it, it was established 9 years ago in Massachusetts, and it's a partnership between the State Superintendents Association, MASS, and the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And the program was established 9 years ago as Massachusetts, which is typical of most states, I think, across the country, started to experience a lot of changes in the superintendency and a lot of new people coming into the position of superintendent of schools for the first time. The State Superintendents Association and the Commissioner of Education said, we really need to find a very collaborative way, a very supportive way to bring these people into what we consider one of the key leadership positions in the state, and that's the person who's responsible for leading all of the initiatives in our school districts. So the program was born out of what was considered a need to do this in a very methodical way, to bring people through an induction program that would be very consistent over the years, methodical and very collaborative. As part of that program, what happens is we work with the new superintendents, and there's a cohort of coaches who are in positions such as mine. There are 13 of us. Currently, we are working with 39 superintendents who are first-year superintendents in Massachusetts. So it's one of the largest cohorts we've had over the 9 years of the program. The program consists of really us learning together. As you know, the superintendent will be out of the district on certain days during the school year, and during those days she will be joining her colleagues who are new to the superintendency and joining the cohort of 13 superintendents. It's a very intense program. The entry plan that you referenced a little earlier in the meeting is part of the program. We work with the new superintendent to help develop that entry plan, and you will see over the course of the next 3 years that entry plan will become part of an action plan and part of a strategy in the Falmouth Public Schools. What's central to that plan and what will be central to all of this work over the next 3 years will be student learning, because that's what matters the most in all of this. So whether we're in Falmouth, in central Massachusetts, in western Massachusetts, the focus of the program will always be about how do we make sure that our schools in this state remain the best in the country, because as you know, Massachusetts prides itself, and we work hard to stay at that #1 spot throughout the country based on a lot of data. So I'm pleased to be here in Falmouth and pleased to have the opportunity to work with who I think is going to be a terrific addition to our state. So thank you for having me tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions if the committee has them.
Thank you.
Yes?
I just have a comment. I think this is really great to hear about the new superintendent's induction program. This is the first time I've heard about it, so it's nice to hear what you're going to be experiencing this year. And we've seen the entry plans and things from past superintendents, but to hear about what the process will be like. So hopefully you'll meet a lot of great peers in that and who can be your colleagues, and you can brainstorm together and
Absolutely
have a support group.
Already, we've done that. So I'd like to say thank you to the committee for actually supporting my opportunity to be a part of the program. I think it's great learning, and I'm very fortunate to have Maureen as my coach. So it's just, but it really is a great opportunity. And so we've already had a couple sessions and got a lot of great ideas from each other and understanding. So thank you to the committee for supporting me.
And I should just mention all of the folks who work as coaches in this program have had extensive experience as leaders in Massachusetts, including the role of superintendent of schools. During my tenure, I was superintendent of schools in the town of Bedford, where I spent 15 years of my career 11 of them as superintendents. So it was a wonderful place to work, and I always appreciated that opportunity. So all of us have that experience, along with a number of other experiences along the way that tend to lead to the superintendency. And a final note, I would say, in the town of Falmouth, you also have, among the many people who served as people that I looked up to as superintendent, Bobby Antonucci, who of course became our Commissioner of Education. So you're well known for that. That's the home of Bobby Antonucci, as we all know when we go to Falmouth High School.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the time, appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is Dr. Santa going to do the introductions? Okay.
Yep. So if I can direct your attention to our screen at the back of our room here, I'd like to introduce our new administrators to the district. First, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Joan Woodward. She is our new interim director of student services. Joan comes to us from Hanover Public Schools, where she was also the director of student services. Joan is residing in Falmouth. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Kathleen Reardon. She's our new interim principal of Morris Pond School. She comes to us from a district in New Hampshire, where she served the past 4 years as a principal of a K-4 elementary school. Our next administrator is Sandy Kapsambelis. She is the new interim principal of T-Ticket Elementary School. Sandy has spent the last 18 years at T-Ticket in various roles, the last 3 years as the school's special education building administrator. And we have Megan Conant. She is our new interim special education building administrator, taking Sandy's position at T-Ticket. Prior to this assignment, Megan served as a special education teacher at Mullen Hall. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Julie Williams-Tinkham. She is our new director of PE Health and Wellness. And Julie is a Falmouth High School graduate. She comes to us from Framingham Public Schools, where she served in a similar role. And finally, I'd like to introduce you to Andrea Burns. She's our new interim director of food service. Andrea has served Falmouth Public Schools in food service for 25 years, the past 14 as a K-4 leader at Mullen Hall. So welcome to all of our new administrators. Very pleased to be able to introduce them to the public.
Nice idea.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to see these people, you know.
Yes. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
You bump into them.
Yeah. This was a technique that was, I don't know if technique's the right word, a method that was used at the convocation. Okay, it was a way to meet the new teachers and everything, and so it's really nice to, rather than just a name. The next thing we'll be looking at is a draft of the budget development flow chart. And who will we be hearing from?
Patrick, do you
Right,
want
I can comment on it, but for folks that have been here before, it looks very familiar to previous years. The dates have been changed. Basically, they move one day across the budget cycle, and the goal is always to have a drama-free budget season.
I will second that.
We'll work on that.
Okay, is there anybody on the committee that has a question? No. Or a comment? Okay.
I did not go back and compare it to last year, so this may be the same, but I was just on number 5. I was just wondering if there was an actual plan around that, the meeting with parents and the public, like how do we pull that part?
So the month of October and November, it's kind of dependent. That's giving the principals time to work with their parent councils to develop sort of their wish lists, their needs and wants, and to give the principals time to develop their supplies and materials budget.
So it's that the principals are meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, already warming up for the tough stuff with the budget.
Okay.
No other comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Do
Do we have to vote it?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Oh, it's a vote thing?
Yeah.
Aren't I good at my job already? Messing up the first thing to do. Okay, so is there a motion?
I'll
to
make a
accept it?
motion to accept the budget development flow chart for fiscal year 2020.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Can we just make sure it makes it to FinCom so that our
Yep, absolutely.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Any opposed? Okay. So it passed unanimously. Okay, the next item is to act on the revised subcommittee chart. Okay, so in our policy manual, it says that we have certain subcommittees that are not standing. We can review them throughout the year. Sometimes needs arise, like we added a new one recently, which is the Fields Liaison Advisory, and some can also be eliminated. So what we researched was the role of, or actually the non-role of subcommittee or school committee members on school councils. So I'm going to read you something that the DESE said, and that prompted us to do away with these subcommittee assignments. It is contrary to the spirit of the law for a school committee member to be appointed to serve as an other person or public member of the council. The intent is to widen the base of citizen involvement and support for the school. School committee members are already involved at the highest level of local school governance and are not encouraged to serve on school councils. So that's why we decided to do away with those subcommittees. We also tweaked a couple other things, so we need to vote on this. So I will just read the list of the new subcommittees. There's not too many changes, and then we'll vote on it, okay? So, on the Budget Committee is John Fernari, William Ryder, and Kelly Welch. On Curriculum, Leah Palmer, William Ryder, and Natalie Kanelopoulos. On Negotiations are Kelly Welch and William Ryder. Policy is Melissa Keefe, Terry Medeiros, Megan Cummings-Fleck, and Andrea Thorold. The Superintendent's Evaluation is Kelly Welch, Leah Palmer, and Natalie Kanelopoulos. The other assignments, Affirmative Action Committee Representative, Natalie Kanelopoulos. Cape Cod Collaborative Board, John Fernari. Legislative Representative, Terry Medeiros. SPED PAC Liaison is John Fernari. Sick Leave Bank, Terry Medeiros. VIPS Program Representative, Andrea Thorold. Falmouth Education Foundation Liaison, Leah Palmer. School Building Needs, Terry Medeiros. Athletic Field Liaison, Megan's Cummings-Fleck. Melissa Keefe, Bill Ryder. Bill Signing, Bill Ryder and Kelly Welch. Technology Advisory, Andrea Thorold. Health and Wellness Task Force, Andrea Thorold, Natalie Kanelopoulos, Melissa Keefe, and Megan's Cummings-Fleck. Okay, is there a motion to accept these new subcommittee assignments?
I'll make a motion to accept the new subcommittee and other assignments.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Will it make you say liaison a few more times?
I would like that.
I'd like to
Done very well.
Because I do really enjoy that.
You know,
Then your feet.
that's as when we had our visitor, I said it in French. You
Sure
know,
did.
Because it is a French name.
I
mean, the
love
word-
it.
The word liaison is a French word.
I
Okay.
know, it's awesome.
You know, I take enough flack as it is. Okay,
Just lighten it up.
all right. Is there any?
I know I messed you
Is
all
there
up.
any relevant discussion on this subject?
Sorry.
That was good.
Is there any discussion? Okay, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. Okay, so there's an update on contracts. As of today, the contract has been signed between the school committee and the unit, the Teamsters Union Local Number 59 for custodians and maintenance. The contract has approved and signed by both parties. Okay? Also, in your packets, there are some bill schedules. We have changed in the last couple of years the policy of bill signing, so do we decide monthly, Lori, that we would bring the bills monthly for everybody to see? Mr. Ryder's goes in and signs them, okay? Because sometimes there's a cutoff date with the finance department at town hall, so.
Yes.
But these are just, you know, so, I don't know if people have looked them over, if they have any questions about them. Oh, we were supposed to make a motion first, right? Okay, so, is there a motion to approve this bill schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill schedule.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now is there discussion? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Any opposed? Okay, very unanimously. Okay, now we will have some updates from Superintendent Dewar on enrollment, class size, and safety.
All right, good evening. I'm going to direct your attention to the PowerPoint again at the back wall. So I'm going to be talking tonight about enrollment and class size. First, enrollment. I am pleased to announce that we have 3,405 students in Falmouth Public Schools. You can see at each school the actual number per school. That gives us our total number. At Falmouth High School, 850. Lawrence Junior High School, 577. Morris Pond Middle School, 561. East Falmouth Elementary, 238. Mullen Hall Elementary, 442. North Falmouth Elementary, 347. T-Ticket Elementary, 354. Enrollment by grade. I won't go through these in particular, but you can see the one grade at grade 8, which seems to be a high number, has been that bubble. I'm sure you guys have known this, but I've learned this, is that kind of bubble class from the very beginning that's been moving through. So, so some highlights on the enrollment. We have a slight increase over last school year at preschool and kindergarten. We only have a 31 overall student drop from last year, and our school choice increase is 40 students this year. Here's a 5-year enrollment comparison. The drop in enrollment over the 5 years is 149 students. The largest decline was between FY 17 and 18 of 66 students. And this past year, a slight drop of 31 students. We have had growth, a nice growth in the school choice. In FY 14, we had 64 students, and now in FY 19, we have 158 students. I think this is a nice compliment to Falmouth and people choosing our school district. And now I'll go over class size. So at kindergarten, you can see the breakdown at the bottom. If you go with the color coding, we have class size 16, 17, 18, and 19. You can see how many at each level, but the average class size in kindergarten is 17. In first grade, again, the same 15 through 19. You can see the number of classes for each. And again, we have an average class size of 17. In second grade, so it's underneath there somewhere, but we have, but again, we have the, you can see the number of classes, but we have an average class size of 17. In third grade, we have an average class size of 18 and a half, just slightly up at, than the other younger grades, but not slightly up overall. And fourth grade, an average class size of 18. And the class size is anywhere from 15 to 22. And at Morris Pond, grades 5 and 6, we have a range of 21 to 26 in classes, but the average class size is 23. And here's the comparison from last year. You can see that we're just slightly up in kindergarten, first grade. We are down in class size at second grade, third grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth all remain steady. And that concludes the presentation on enrollment and class size.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, Megan?
Not a question, but I think those are great numbers, and I know a lot of people in the teaching field, and they're working with 26, 27 kids in a class, so I think it's really great, and I think that just benefits everybody, teachers and students, so I'm really happy with those numbers.
Good, thank you.
Leah?
Thank you for presenting that. I think that helps to get the visual of what our enrollment looks like. I feel like that graph where we look at the enrollment and how it's dropped, it really is not that, it looks bigger on the graph than it actually is.
Yes.
You know, when we really look at those numbers, there's very few students that we're losing. But I did look at the trend of when students, so from Morris Pond to Lawrence trend, and then the Lawrence to high school trend. And what I noticed is that we've been pretty consistent around that. Actually, we've been dropping a little from 2016 to 2019 to school year 2019 in our students that we're losing going to the high school. So we went from 57 to 45 to 47 to 40, which I think is good news. And then in our decline in enrollment from Morris Pond to Lawrence, that has been pretty consistent too, with, it looks like, between 6 and 12 students, which is not a big loss. But I know that we know that the Sturgis piece happens going to the high school, and that we do lose some students going to Falmouth Academy too for the switch for 7th grade. So I just wanted to share that we've been pretty consistent about that, and so I think that's great too.
Cal?
So I was looking at the exact same thing. Those were the exact same numbers that I'm always interested in. And I am really glad that they're low numbers and it's not a lot of kids, but I can't help but always think, what could we be doing, if anything, to keep them? Because clearly we're not meeting their need. And I don't, we go about this, we talk about this every year, the exact same thing. What can we do? What can we do? Why are they leaving? Where do they go? But I just think that there's something to it, because if there's an opportunity for kids to transfer to a different district or school or service or whatever, we need to be looking at what it is we should be offering them that we're not, because it'll help everyone. It's not just about those kids, it's also about all the other kids that might serve. And I don't know how we do that, but we talk about it every year.
We talk about exit interviews.
And, or even if it's not the time-consuming thing of sitting down with kids, but if we know which kids they are, we can look at some of their grade history. We can look at their, how they're performing in class and draw some conclusions about what it is that, even if we can't sit down with them and find out why they're leaving, we might be able to tease something out of data that would help us fill in the picture, not just for them, but for a lot of kids. And I just don't want us to, I just think we need to keep looking at it until we have a better sense for how we might do better.
Terry?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I would counter what Kelly and Leah said. I'm not sure, in reference, have you done any kind of empirical data versus other districts that we're somehow more than those other districts? Because to me, you're going to lose X number of kids anyway, X number are coming in. I don't want to put a negative spin on, just to make a metaphor here, if a 9th grader on our freshman football team can't bench press 250 pounds, are there other 9th graders on other freshman football teams bench pressing 250 pounds? Are we that much different? Or do you even know if we're any different from these other districts. So if we're right on pace, we may even be better than the drop percentage on other districts. You know, I know Sandwich, for example, has 175 kids going out and then 175 coming in. You know, and there's different districts that I've seen the different numbers on, and but I don't see, that's one that just jumps out at me. And then there's others that have, up in, I think it's Nauset or somewhere, they have like the entire school choice coming in, the flip-flop of it is, you know. And then there's others that have, you know, several hundred that are going in for a particular year. So I don't know whether we should, in our capacity, make it sound as if we're somehow doing a poor job, when I think we're doing a good job, and unless somebody shows me like this stat, here we are versus the rest of Massachusetts, and we're woefully behind. I get it, you don't want to leave anybody to go, but there are going to people that are going to go just for whatever reason on their own.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Bill?
I think there are a couple other things. One of the things that I like is the growth of the school choice. I don't want us to forget that, because there are districts that advertise it, I think sometimes maybe more than we do, and I think we've done very well in minimal advertising and obviously getting good kids. So that falls back to a program, whether it's your AP program, your academics, your ability to work with special needs kids, or maybe it's athletics or some kind of co-curricular thing. But I don't lose the fact that we've lost some numbers, but we've also gained in the school choice. And I think the school choice, when you go from 118 to 158, you're doing something right academically. And I think that's important. We can't forget that.
Natalie?
So regarding school choice, do we know, is it across the district, across the grade levels, or is there one grade level in particular that we're seeing an influx?
So we have a full school choice report coming up on the schedule. I kind of just wanted to highlight the overall,
Right.
so I can't speak to that tonight, but Joan will be giving us a full report when that report's actually done.
Perfect.
So this was early, but I thought it was at least, you know, preliminary, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, we do have the 158, but I mean, it's you know, early. We're going to have more of that. We are going to have a full presentation.
Great.
Excellent, thank you.
Leah?
And I agree with all points that have been made here. I think that highlighting, and I know with our advertisement around Falmouth Public Schools, there have been school choice students who talk about their experience. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
I mean,
we have.
I didn't dream that, right?
Yes.
That is right. Okay.
We do have videos.
I think it's so good to hear both sides about what it is that we offer. And, you know, every school is not the perfect fit for every child. So, you know, finding that perfect fit is important. But I think in highlighting why so many students do come to Falmouth Public Schools is great. And I thought that was a really great way to focus our advertising on about the students who do make that choice to come here. So I think it's important for us to know why students do leave, just like it's important to know why staff leave. Yeah. Like what is it that they're looking for and that they would like us to offer? It's the perfect opportunity to ask those questions. And it might be that, you know, that's not necessarily something that we can do here, but it is good to have that information. But highlighting all the things that we do is really important too.
John?
Yeah, and one other item that I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention this time. We are unique, I think, in our community that we have very large institutions with transient and national, international people who have movement, you know, with MBL, Hui, the Coast Guard, and Otis. So I think that impacts us too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, yes, Andrea.
So I had two questions, also looking at these trends. One of them is just a really quick thing. When we looked at classroom distributions, I think it might be helpful to explain, because everybody always wonders how those distributions get made. And while we know the average class size, sometimes there are it's not equally distributed, and I was wondering if you could explain why some of those can be very different.
Right. Most of the time, it's because we're meeting the individual needs of the students. So there may be some classes that will have, greater needs, and therefore lower numbers so that we can meet the needs than some other classrooms. We try, if you could look at, at the lower grades, it's pretty much, distributed equally. As you get up, the 5th and 6th grade, there are some more variances in the number. I'm sure that you noticed that. And so those teams and having some additional supports on some teams can change those numbers some.
That's great. Thank you. And then the other thing you had mentioned in your presentation too about you can look at one end and what's happening there, but also what's coming in, right, and what's projecting our future growth. And you talked a lot about the pre-K and K. And I noticed that overall there's, been these smaller increases, but then you had a big increase at North Falmouth and a pretty big decrease at T-Ticket. And I'm just wondering if we knew anything about what was happening there, or if we had anything
So that'll be a part of, they're shaking their head no, that it is part of looking at the data. And so each month we're taking a chunk of the data and digging deep and taking a deep dive. So I would suspect that we will have some data updates for you at each session.
Yeah, that'd be
And
interesting.
so as we continue to learn things, we'll bring it to you. And certainly, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions about class size or school choice? Okay, and safety.
Safety. Okay, so just a brief update on safety to let everyone know that our district safety team, which also includes police and fire, we have been meeting over the summer and continue to meet. We had a team of 4 teachers and administrator that actually attend ALICE training over the summer, and they did come back and provided a report for us. Based on the team's feedback and recommendations, we are now the entire safety team and all of our district administrators are being trained in ALICE later this month. Our trainers will be 2 Falmouth police officers that are trainers in ALICE, and then they will also help us to understand and be able to devise a plan. If we have additional trainings after that, and based on whatever plan we devise, those trainers will be available. Chief Dunn is making them available for our district to continue training as needed. We are also attending other trainings as they become available. Last week we had representation at the Massachusetts School Shooter Symposium. It was commissioned by the Massachusetts officials, including Governor Baker and School Commissioner Jeff Riley. The ASHER, the Active Shooter Hostile Event Response Training, helps us improve our abilities to plan, practice, and recover. So we, Falmouth, what the safety team is doing is we're looking at all current trainings and looking what fits best so that we can create our Falmouth plan that suits our needs here in this district, which will include parts of ALICE, but very positive feedback on the ASHER training as well. The district safety team, along with the police and fire departments, will be devising a revised safety plan based on our training and our collective knowledge. This year, Chief Dunn and I will be reporting the revised plan later this fall. In the meantime, we are continuing our fire and safety drills as scheduled. Each year the drills are enhanced based on the previous drills and the new learning that occurs during that time. Any questions at this time? We'll continue to give updates.
Thank you for doing all that. But you hear those words all strung together about active shooter and everything, and that is just an absolutely horrible part of your job, but I'm really glad that you're doing it.
It is part of it. We have a great team, though, so we're all looking at it. And, so that kind of concludes. I'd also wanted to give just a brief update on the all-purpose synthetic field. I just want to tell you that we are on schedule. The bid was posted last week on Wednesday. The bid opening is September 20th. We are getting good responses. We will bring a contractor bid for approval at the September 25th school committee meeting.
What time is it on the 20th?
1 PM here.
I've heard it's supposed to be really cool. I want to come.
Not really. But if you
I just
want,
wanna
it is
come.
it is public. It is absolutely public.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for those updates. And we will next have an update on staffing by Dr. Sonntag.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about our recruitment season that we've just wrapped up. So if I can turn to this PowerPoint. So in Falmouth Public Schools, we're dedicated to recruiting and retaining the most highly qualified educators for all of our students. I often say that it isn't just about bringing in new folks, it's also bringing in quality folks to work with our current team. You want to strengthen the team by the individuals that you bring on. I'm going to start with our attrition analysis because essentially we had openings because we have folks leave us. So we measured this metric by calculating the numbers of employees that left the district and the total number of employees in each category. So the state attrition rate for teachers is 15%. That's on the Department of Education website. In Falmouth, it's 10%. So we are within reason. In companies, including public sectors like schools, it's between 8 and 10%. So the separation reasons are resignation, retirement, non-renewals, or a leave of absence. And we've had 33 of those in the elementary and secondary level out of 326, which is where that 10% number lies. In terms of administrators, in a district our size and in our particular office, when a few people leave, it feels like a lot. But if you look at our percentage rate, it was 6 out of 98 total administrators, school level, administrative level. And so although we miss some of them, we do know that the impact in terms of numbers is pretty low. It also led the way for those new administrators that we greeted at the beginning of our session. Now our non-certified staff, teaching assistants, secretarial, and other support personnel, these were resignations, retirements, non-renewals, and leaves of absences, 11 out of 134, which is only 8%. Some of those folks are on leave of absence and will be returning to the district as well. Custodial, we had resignations, retirements, and non-renewals, 5 out of 79, which is only 6%. So our attrition rate is fairly low. That doesn't mean that the hiring season wasn't an active one. So with recruitment, we've expanded it to include the district's Facebook page, which I have to thank Mr. Weber for that. Employee referrals were up, and that I'm very proud of. So our employees have been able to take postings that are sent to them every week and share them with other highly qualified, good candidates to come into Falmouth Public Schools and join the team. A new HR Twitter page was also created. I have to admit I'm not a big Twitter user, but for this purpose I made sure to essentially go the route of essentially what our new applicants are using, which is Twitter. So that allows us to post on different college and alumni sites and specialty sites, especially when we were looking for a technology person for the high school's graphic arts teacher. This has helped us increase applicants for all critical positions. So I wanted to essentially show what last year's hiring season, or the last hiring season, and this hiring season, from June 2016 to September 2017, and the different sources that were used to get the word out that there were openings in Falmouth Public Schools. And you can see on the right the hiring season from June 1st, 2017 to September 1st, 2018, and how many people actually increased on our website. Employee referrals were up 78%. Search engines were up 280 applicants, so that's 52%. Other is a huge jump, 390 applicants. The percentage increase is 65%. and with Google search engine, it's a 19%. Since running this report and realizing that we had the capacity to analyze this data in this way, I have included in the application process the Twitter page, because I did notice a pretty hefty jump from the employee referral and other. And the only other thing that was done was to increase with Facebook and with Twitter. So I think it's safe to say that that's the reason, but I'll be able to have harder data for you coming this time next year. So our recruitment efforts have increased by 39% in terms of how many applicants we had for administration positions or educator positions, which include teachers, counselors, nurses, essentially anyone in units A, B, and D. And we had a percentage increase of 36% and 77%. And one thing I want to point out is that the recruitment efforts are very targeted. So there's a Gallup poll out that shows that educators in districts like ours have come from a 20-mile radius from the school that they went to high school in. So having that data helped to really target certain universities and certain locations where it was clear that if we could get the word out to them, we could essentially get folks to see our openings and apply. And whenever someone applies that was a Falmouth High School graduate, it's a coming of home of sorts. The dedication is certainly there, and we've had some of those hires this year. So recruitment continued. Teaching assistant applications grew by 157%. This past application cycle, we had 162 applicants for teaching assistant. For secretarial and other support, 46. Custodial, 52. And substitutes, which was really an effort starting last summer, is up 569%. Wow. And that's essentially important. And that doesn't mean that every substitute that applied essentially got approved to come on board, but it's great to have a hefty list, a strong list of substitutes to go back and look at in all areas. We continue to clean that up and to make sure that we've got really great people coming on board. And in terms of job type, internal applications grew by 45% and external applications by 177%. And I do attribute that to going outside and essentially recruiting from different colleges and through their websites, through their Twitter accounts, and their alumni accounts, and asking them essentially to share it with their listservs. Onboarding. So currently we're using Talent Ed for posting open positions and submittals of applications for consideration. This online platform allows the hiring managers, which are the principals or the directors, to be able to screen the applicants, request written references. They also call for references. They make sure they speak to direct supervisors before recommending someone for hire. But it's really great to be able to have something in writing from different references. They communicate with the applicants, they schedule interviews, and they recommend candidates for hire. In March of 2018, those of you who were on the committee at the time remember that we added records to Talent Ed. That package is helping HR manage employee documentation. We monitor the application process, the completion of tasks, and it's configured to give us alerts as a position goes through the process, but also other stakeholders. There are other people that are involved in the hiring process outside of HR. So payroll needs to know. When you come on board, technology needs to know so that they can set up all of your accounts and your emails. And this was helping other stakeholders get real-time alerts that people are coming on board so they can manage their workflow. So there's always time for reflections, and the reflection that we've done after this hiring season is around our strengths, our challenges, and some opportunities. The strengths, HR has transitioned all new hires to records. It's that portion of Talent Ed that essentially allows for an electronic onboarding system. So those folks have both a paper file, because we're going to do both simultaneously for a little while, but they have a complete electronic personnel file as well. This system will allow Falmouth Public School to transition to electronic files for everyone, which will allow employees to access their personnel information remotely at any time. They could also request different things. If there's a name change, they can log into their account and request it that way. They can change a deduction if they would like to. It definitely empowers the employee to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of how they access their information, and it allows us to do the same. HR has maintained a personal touch, though, because I think if you do it all online, you miss essentially meeting folks and knowing that they're the right folks for the position. So we've maintained that personal touch by still conducting in-person sessions to process paperwork and answer any questions that the employee might have. Our challenges. Although technology can provide smoother workflows as well as timely communication to all stakeholders, transitioning to new technology is typically a process that encounters hiccups. And this wasn't devoid of any hiccups. We had them. We addressed some of those issues by providing a space and a computer at the administration building to assist applicants in person with the online process from application to hire. So we did have some folks who called up and said, I can't upload something, or I can't get through this, or my auto insert put all the wrong information in there. And so that's not a problem. They can come in and we've got a computer, we'll walk you through it, we'll do it with you, for you, until we can get it through. We had less of those situations. They were outliers, but those folks weren't cut out. If you don't have a computer that's working at home or access to a computer, that isn't a problem. You can come in, we've got that kiosk for you, and we will give you the help. We also do it over the phone. We are maintaining our former spreadsheet system while launching the new system. I have a few extra gray hairs from doing that, but it was completely worth it. It minimized the potential for things to fall through the cracks while you're switching to something new. So the heavy lifting was absolutely worth it. At some point, we will start transitioning the current employees to the online records system, but that has to be a slower roll. Teachers need to focus on teaching and learning, and not essentially something that's going to take a little bit of time, but we will work on it little by little. Opportunities. So our targets, or some of our targets for the 18-19 school year, is to continue to transition the current staff to records, implementation of internal audits to assist HR in assessing processes and procedures. I think that's really important. An outside audit can tell us a lot. That's a different lens. But if we conduct our internal audits, we can catch some things that we can clean up ourselves. Continue collecting and analyzing staff exit surveys and implement improvements based on the results. So that was new this year. Everyone who left us received a request to fulfill an exit survey. I didn't overly bug them, so I sent it twice. If you didn't submit it the second time, blessings to them as they continue on in their educational journey or their retirement. But we did get some return information that we can use to assess our programs. And the big one is to plan and hold a job fair for the spring 2019 hiring season right here in Falmouth, and use that data that folks within a 20-mile radius of the high school that they went to tend to come back and work in those districts in education. So I'd really like to capitalize on that.
Very good.
And then support. We feel pride in providing support for all personnel and each school in filling vacancies and transitioning into the Falmouth Public Schools. We commit to approaching each hire with professionalism, courtesy, and respect. We continue to be a supportive point of contact for all staff whenever there's a need for HR support. And having been in the schools last week, because that was one of the initiatives, our superintendent had us all start our day off at a different school during the first week of school. That professionalism, that courtesy, and that respect, you can feel it among the current staff and the new members that came on board. So it's a really great feeling from an HR perspective in central office to know that strong people came on board to join an already strong team.
Can I interrupt you just for 1 second?
Not until I say thank you to Courtney. Courtney Taziz came on board to assist in HR. She hit the ground running and never looked back. And I have to say thank you because she essentially made it all work, and I appreciate that.
I just wanted to say, I did a sense of pride that I have in the district to see Dr. Santa over at Morris Pond, with talking about practicing what you preach. You just said, getting good folks and then following up and support. Just that total slide there, you're living it each day. Because to see her pulling in a drop-off, and here's Dr. Santa directing, along with Dr. Reardon, the kids being dropped off. So kudos and thank you so much.
Yes, that was a team effort. So each member of the central office team was at a different school all last week. It was a fun thing to do. That's where the energy is.
Leah? With Talent Ed, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around how Talent Ed works. Is it like School Spring? Is it connected to School Spring?
It is.
Okay.
So People Admin is the parent company, and they've bought quite a few different companies, including School Spring and Talent Ed. So when we post a position internally, it's available for our staff to apply. When it goes external, it also goes on School Spring, so it reaches a wider audience in that respect.
Okay, so it's just Talent Ed when it's internal, and then it goes, it's School Spring?
When it's external.
External. And I just have a follow-up question about that. So when applicants are not hired, how does that communication, does it go through the School Spring?
It goes through Talent Ed. So if there are 24 candidates for a particular position, there's a recommendation for hire that comes through from one of the principals. It gets processed on our end. All other 23 receive a notification that says that the position has been filled and thanks them for their interest in our school. And they're aware of that. The hire is also aware that they've been recommended for hire. It then triggers that bridge or that transition to records, and then records picks up from there and sends them the regular payroll deductions, W-4s. Here's a list of our, it's essentially the paper packet, but electronically. And that has helped us.
Is there still a personal connection? So if someone's coming in for an interview and they're not hired, do they still get a follow-up phone call that the position?
That's a style issue. So some of the principals do send an email on their own to thank them for coming in, or call them, particularly if they're a finalist. In the example I gave you, there are 23 other people. But if you had 2 finalists for the position, they've always contacted the other finalists to let them know that although it's disappointing, most of the positions are really competitive. That's what I'm just afraid of,
is that we lose that.
No.
With the electronic way of doing it.
Understood.
Okay.
And there are some times when the hiring managers will share with other hiring managers, I know you were looking for someone, I had a really great interview with someone, we just went in a different direction. I sometimes will ask permission of the candidate to move them into another pool that they might have missed, that they didn't see. Just making sure that once we meet people, especially substitutes, I hear from all of the principals. So when we have really good substitutes that have worked in one building, I want to try to make sure that another principal who may not be aware knows.
I saw that you're doing exit interviews, but are you doing them school to school? So if a teacher goes from one school to another, are you doing a transition interview? Or?
No, those have not been done.
Okay.
Absolutely put that on my radar.
Okay.
Yes, Andrea?
So you've obviously done a lot of work on recruitment with those huge increases. So those efforts are definitely paying off. And you also mentioned the future job fair. So I was wondering if there are particular areas where we're not getting enough quality applicants.
I think we're getting quality applicants. I think where the issue lies is we have some really difficult to fill positions. It's the same problem across the state. So our special education, our vocational positions, our English as a second language positions, math and science, those are typically across the state and the country are very difficult to fill. I think geographically we're challenged as well in terms of being able to get folks essentially that can find housing. So I've been working a little bit on providing some information, particularly when I know someone's coming in from out of state or pretty far, and they share that with me. You know, if they share that they're actually looking for help. But I think that our salaries are competitive, so it's not so much that. It's essentially, it's very expensive to live on the Cape.
Great,
I just wanted to say, if you have it easily available, I don't like to give administrators more thing, but it's such a feel-good piece of data, is how many Falmouth people came back and are teaching in our system.
I knew you were going to ask that.
I mean, you know, it's just such a feel-good thing. So, all right, if you could follow up with that.
Okay.
And also, oh, yes, Bill.
Yeah, I like the idea of the job fair in that 20-mile radius. I think that makes a lot of sense. Very productive, very positive. I also like the increase in the number of people interested in substitution, because some districts have a great deal of difficulty getting substitutes and quality substitutes. And you have a conglomerate like that, you're going to get some really good people that are not going to be substitutes very long that are going to go into the educational world.
Yes, and that's essentially what happens.
Exactly.
I see one of our principals nodding her head.
This one's really good. You know what? We can't miss on this one. And the other thing I liked is your numbers increased all over. And if you do nationwide searches at this point in time, you're going to find the number of students who are graduating from colleges in the educational world are dropping significantly. So in order for you to have a pool and increase in the percentages of numbers is extremely positive. Excellent job. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes,
So, I was thinking about the paraprofessional. There's been some training for paraprofessionals happening within the schools, right? Is that right? And I was thinking about, because we know that there's some areas that we really do need more teachers in, is there any way to really kind of target those areas for potential teachers who are already in our system who aren't in certified teaching roles yet? That there might be teachers who are interested in potentially getting some supports.
Our teaching assistants, you mean?
Teaching assistants, yeah, or teachers who are coming in and doing their practicum or something like that.
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. Are some of our teaching assistants and other folks who are working in our district also looking at getting certified in some of those hard to fill positions?
Or is there a way
licensure?
to promote that?
Yes. So last year, when the conversation around the teaching assistant to teacher pathway began, the interest, overwhelming interest, was around special education. So there's definitely that move, and I think that we need to have a little bit more conversation about how we want to tailor that so we can support our teaching assistants to take advantage of the tuition reimbursement, the full advantage of tuition reimbursement towards their licensure, and discuss with the union also how we can do that.
Yeah. And another thing that I was thinking about is our high school students, and that there might be some high school students who are really interested in pursuing careers, you know, and seeing, you know, how could we work on scholarships that would bring them back to Falmouth, and you know, to bring the
great ideas,
science and math component or the English language learning component, special education.
Thank you. It was very
Thank you.
thoroughly.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're on the button. On the button. Okay, so does any committee member have any comments, any updates or anything? John?
Just on the collaborative, I attended the school year kickoff. We had the whole staff. Everybody's really charged up and motivated for the school year. And then obviously school started as well at both the Waypoint and STAR programs, and everything's going well. So that's it for that.
Okay, and I just wanted to say, as John referenced, Dr. Santabian in the building, following Lori's lead and the communication, we have a responsibility too, I think, this year to be, see if we can get in. It's hard because people work and everything, and I have the luxury of being retired, so I can go in during the days, but let's jump on the bandwagon too, okay?
I don't think I'm going to be able to get on the front page of the paper, though.
Yeah, on the school,
Man,
yeah.
That was pretty amazing. Twice.
Ride the school bus.
Awesome. It was really great. A lot of awesome feedback in the grocery store over that one, for sure.
And one other comment was that my neighbor is a veteran of 28 years, and she said, quote unquote, it was the best convocation she's ever been to. So, yeah, it was a very good
That was
convocation.
a team effort. We all
Yeah.
did that, so that's, thank you.
Can you make a plug for this?
Okay, yes, there's a coffee hour with Superintendent Drewer. It's September 24th at 10 a.m. It's here at Falmouth Public Schools. And did I forget anything?
No, I just
Okay.
think that it's always nice to get it out there.
Yeah.
In case we can get some people to
agree.
pop by.
Yep.
Okay. I'll show a picture. That's like the one. See? It makes a better imprint. Coffee hour, there you go, okay.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting September 11th, 2018.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining or voting no?
Or wanting to spend the night.
Good job.